Thank you very much, Chairpersons, Dr. Prashant and Dr. Parikh, for that very kind introduction of both of us. I am Dr. Jagdish Chinnappa, and I will be speaking on the ethics part of it, and Dr. Jagdish will be speaking about the legal part of it. Social media and ethics for doctors is what I'm going to speak about in the next 20-25 minutes. And basically, I will start off with a small story. This is a story of Mesut Ozil. He's a football star, and all of y'all might have heard about him. He used to play for Arsenal in the UK. So, Mesut Ozil, very innocuously, just a year back, posted a innocuous comment on his Twitter post and his Instagram post, where he criticized China over its treatment of a particular sect of Muslims in China. What happened after that? This was just an innocuous post. But what happened? A lot changed after that. Though we do not know whether it is because of that criticism, but what happened was immediately the fallout was he disappeared from all video games, merchandise, the Chinese internet, got his pay cut, and has not played since June. And this is a report which has come out just a few days back, which means that an innocuous post can have a rippling effect right across all social media. So we know, let's look at health now. 40% of consumers say that the information found via social media will affect how they deal with their health. 30% are likely to share this health information across social media sites with patients, other patients. And 42% will post comments about a doctor, nurse, or healthcare provider on social media. So all the rating that you get, or whether you're a good doctor or a bad doctor, there are many patients who will keep doing that. So basically, what is the social media? Basically, it comprises of three main things. Basically, one is a networking social media, a blog or a microblog social media like Twitter, and a content. TikTok, of course, is banned now, but Instagram and YouTube are of the same thing. There are a host of other things. So what it basically does is that they are web-based applications that allow people to create and exchange content on the platform. In addition to this simplified picture which I showed you, there are a number of other things that happen. There are tools like podcasts, image sharing, video sharing, content sharing, so many things that can happen when you're looking with a social media network. So what I'm going to do in this topic is going to look at 4 aspects that are going to affect all of us. One are what are the unique characteristics of social media? 2, what are the ethical priorities in social media? Some examples and key principles to safeguard yourself as far as day-to-day practice is concerned. Let's start with what are the few adjectives by which you can describe social media which is different from what the normal thing is. 1, it's a brave new world. It's somewhere where all of us want to be in, but very few of us have the guts to go in. 2, it is pervasive. It's there everywhere, including your local grocery person, including the lady who's selling vegetables on the street is using social media. It is shrouded in mystery because many parts of it we don't know. We just know the superficial parts. It's addictive. I think every one of us cannot spend even more than 15 minutes without looking at WhatsApp or looking at what is the latest post on Facebook. So I think it is addictive. It's anonymous. You can remain totally anonymous. Nobody needs to know what is being looked at. It leads to some degree of indifference. We will come to that a little later. It is manipulative. People can manipulate. The companies can manipulate. Organizations can manipulate. You know very well about the US elections which took place last time. Much of it was manipulated. Another thing which is there is cause its uniformity. It tends to produce the same kind of people. If you look at the youngsters today, they would like to dress the same way, do the same things, almost the same things. Virality. This is another thing which is very important because you might just post something, but it can spread all over the world. I had a small video on vaccination, which I thought was an innocuous video. But somebody called me from Iowa saying that we have seen this video and we agree to what you're saying. So, I mean, it spreads very fast and it becomes an interconnected thing. Another thing is that it all becomes self-centered. Everybody is looking at what is the claps they get, what is the thumbs up they get. So, I think self-centeredness takes place and tend to be secretive. I'm sure if you have a teenage daughter, that daughter is not going to share any of her social media handles with you because they tend to be secretive. So there are a few adjectives which can define this entire thing, which is very different from what we are used to. Like for example, let us look at anonymity. Most people will try to remain anonymous, especially from the organizations, government, etc. They don't want to see what they are doing on the social network. As I said, there is no diversity. We all tend to do they all tend to do the same kinds of things. So that's one thing which happens. Then this is a very interesting picture. If you look at self-centered, there's a fellow who's drowning over there, but everybody is either taking a selfie with him or trying to take a picture of what's happening over there and posting it on their social media handle. So it's all about self-centeredness, which is a problem. The next very important thing is money is the king. Human values have gone away now because everything is termed in terms of commerce, directly or indirectly. So that's another problem with social media. Another major issue is addiction. We all are used about putting the cheese and getting the rat trap, but we are also trapped by the internet. We cannot survive without the internet. So there is a trap which is set there. It starts early in life. This child, for example, is a very nice cartoon with a ball sitting in the web and the Facebook, which is the child is getting addicted to. It even goes even further. It starts even very early on, where children are shown social media posting. The other issue is we tend to be myopic. They don't see any world beyond social media. They don't see the other parts of what is happening. So these are all the problems which are happening with social media. So social media, you would agree, alters your thinking pattern completely because of this anonymity, the myopic nature, the uniformity, emphasis on money, self-centeredness, addictiveness, and manipulativeness. So there are a large number of things which are different. Now, what are the ethical priorities? Now, if you look at the normal thing, doctors are existing in two worlds. One is the real world, which you can see on one side with the bag, etc., and the virtual world, which the monitors, etc. The ethical principles are very different in these two worlds, and that's what I would like to emphasize. We know that in the real world, our primary thing is autonomy. Patient has his autonomy to decide and has got the choice to decide what he wants to do. Beneficence, what is going to benefit the patient, what we do no harm, and finally justice. There are different types of justice, I won't go into that, but basically these were what was taught to us as the basic principles of bioethics. Professionalism was important, confidentiality was important, veracity or truth-telling was important, and communication was important. Let's see, this is the real world scenario where these were the principles were primarily here. But let's see what happens in the virtual world. In the virtual world, the primary emphasis is on confidentiality, on veracity, on the communication that you do, and professionalism. Whereas the autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice have a slightly reduced importance compared to the other principles of bioethics. So what has happened is a paradigm shift. On one hand, we were all the time looking at parent-patient choice, but now we are looking at how do we maintain confidentiality, how do we maintain truthfulness, etc. So let's look at some of these things. How has this changed? Why has this changed? Primarily, when you're looking at the real world, it was doctor-patient, without anything there. But when you look at the virtual world, there's an interface. And what has changed is this barrier or this interface. And that's what we need to look very carefully into how it happens. Because of this, social media entitles us to blurring who you are. And that's anonymity is a problem. So you can be that, you can be the wolf, actually, but you can be portrayed as a sheep. Okay, so the basic thing is that these are the issues. Now we'll come to a very important concept of what is the agenda. The agenda of the doctor, the patient, and the creators of social media platforms are entirely non-congruent. And this is very important. The patient in a social media setup is looking for a solution to a problem. The doctor in a social media is looking at his reputation and looking to increase practice. Now the social media platform has a different agenda altogether. What it wants is attention, addiction, and targeted marketing. Somewhere down the line, even if WhatsApp is free or YouTube is free, they make their money by targeted marketing. And that's what we need to understand very well. Let's explore this a little more. Let's look at the patient. How does the patient use social media? The patient, every search, whether he goes on Google or Quora, whatever it is a problem seeking a solution. He's got a problem, he's looking for a solution. So he goes to Google, goes to Quora. He finds a solution again in these two sites, and then he will start looking at rating sites. He'll start looking at people like me. He'll try looking at groups, Facebook groups, etc., trying to choose which facility, which doctor, which hospital. If you look at the doctor, he's got two avatars, his actual avatar and his online avatar. And the reviews which will do that will change his reputation. He wants increased patient load. How will he do that? By defining a niche area, by looking at referrals, by positioning, and indirectly he makes more money because of the quantity of time he spends on social media, the quality of time he spends there, and of course the time that he spends on social media makes a great difference on this. The social media's basic thing is to get attention, sustain that attention, reward. Now let me tell you that the reward that you get in a social media is addiction, because you'll get the claps, you'll get so many things which are built-in algorithms within the social media, and they want more traffic, and you get targeted advertisement. So these are the things that the social media people are looking at. So this is a complex ecosystem. So ethical behavior is very, very important, and you may be able to rectify it, you may not be able to rectify it. So what does a doctor do? He's got three basic responsibilities. One is self-regulation. You have to have confidentiality, veracity and competence and professionalism. You have to regulate the patient's behavior online. You have to set boundaries, respect their rights, and you have to assist social media regulation. And it's very important to recognize transgressions, report these transgressions, and be an advocate. I can tell you that I have seen there are posts which are very, very bad, but it's up to you to report. And it's extremely important that you report it to the authorities, report it to the concerned social media regulatory authorities and to the national regulatory authorities. So we completed two of them. I'll just go through the examples now. For example, this is one doctor who portrayed his capabilities in an exaggerated fashion. He says, I'm a pediatrician, come neonatologist, come allergy specialist. And normally doctors, at least pediatricians, put MD DCH. So this is fooling the public by just putting MB DCH. So many patients will not read this as MD DCH. So basically he is portraying it in a wrong way. So this is a kind of hype which you can create on the social media. Well, there are now, you can defend a fraudulent, exaggerated claim on a social media, at least in many of the foreign countries. And I'm sure very shortly it will come here. So veracity or truthfulness on social media is a very important thing. You have to portray exactly what you are and not what something else. You can see that these are reports from India, where you can see a fake doctor who has faked himself completely on social media and got a job in a very prestigious institute. You can misrepresent yourself. Then you can also see people with alternative medicine misrepresenting themselves on social media. You can choose, this girl is going to choose what she wants to portray herself on a social media on a day. She can portray anything she likes because it is anonymous. So the doctor must be very clear what he is going to protest. The next important thing is a doctor trolls a colleague who just performed a life-saving procedure. You're jealous, so you troll him. You make uncharitable comments about him. So this is one of the biggest fallouts of social media. And it's very important that you beware about this. Please do not post anything that will be against anybody. You can be sued for defamation. Third important thing we can look at is should a doctor accept a friend request from an attractive patient who once was his patient? Well, this can happen. Well, it's important that there are boundary issues. Therefore, you need to see what is professional, what is personal. And please do not transgress these boundaries under any circumstance. Example 4, a doctor puts a photograph of drinking and smoking party where he was one of the participants. You can see many of these posts where you can see doctors dancing away, drinking, smoking. Well, it's very important that the doctor maintains his professional image and not put up such examples on social media. Another one is a rare case. Recently there was a case which was from Nagpur where there was a very rare case which was put on the social media, and immediately it was pulled up by the medical council saying that such photographs are not to be put up because you need to respect patients' privacy and confidentiality. This is another way of social media where a doctor forwards an anti-vaccine message which he just receives on WhatsApp. This again is not to be done. The primary reason is that there are multiple anti-vaxxers on the platform, and by forwarding it, you're only giving more teeth to their movement. Another thing is a doctor forwards photographs of an ugly scene that happened in the ER. This again is a wrong thing to do, primarily because it does not fit into the professional image of you. So basically there are various types of transgressions that can take place. One can be conscious, the other and unconscious. Amongst the conscious, it could be major, like for example, sexual harassment can be there. Minor can be sarcastic comment about a colleague. In the unconscious, you may forward something with an unsecure network where many people have access to it, and minor, you can probably forward a racist joke. This was a recent article which came out just day before yesterday about about doctors who are sharing pictures of a C-section of triplets. I think my colleague Dr. Jagdish is going to talk more about it. So how do we safeguard our principles? Well, we looked at the virtual world ethical principles. Look at these four, and these are the four things that you need to look at. Have a respect for boundary. As in the cricket, the boundary should be guarded. You must have a personal social presence and a professional social presence. This is very, very important. Do not mix up your professional and personal social media handles with each other. Second is be authentic. Do not exaggerate. Be what you are authentically. 3, maintain confidentiality. Do not post anything which is non-shareable on the web, even though it may be between a few friends. Remember, everything can go viral anytime. Maintain professionalism, etiquette, dress code, measured communication, and always go through the clinical process flow as you would do in a regular consultation. Have respect for the profession, members, organizations, and the society. So in all these examples, we see that there's a great need for caution while handling social media. We need to be aware about the truthfulness of our posts, maintaining confidentiality, maintaining a professional outlook, and avoiding deceit at all costs. So I have shown you all the things that can go wrong. So should we not post at all? Should we not get onto this platform at all? Well, no. There are always good things and bad things. The advantages of social media: you can connect with patients, you can connect with industry, the media and the public can discover you, you can spread messages as my chairperson mentioned, you can establish yourself as an expert, you can indirectly brand yourself, you can have a very wide audience. However, as I mentioned before, be cautious, strictly go according to regulations, and be aware of ethical breaches. So keep posting on social media, because ultimately the squeakiest wheel is the one that will get the oil. Thank you very much.